Hello, my name is Madelaine Knight, and this is my video submission for the Banff Citadel Professional Program. I have two selections for you today. The first is from Patient A by Lee Blessing, and the second is the Thomasina selection from Arcadia. For my English accent sample, I have a bit of Sonnet 53 by Shakespeare. Thank you. "8 months before I died, I was in pretty bad shape, and I wanted to be prepared if anything happened. I was making all of these plans, and I realized I should have the sacrament of the sick, the final blessing. So I called a priest. This was around 9 o'clock in the evening, and he told me he'd be over right away. And I told him, well, I don't need it right now. And he said, no, I'm coming right over, and he hung up. So suddenly I'm trying to explain to my parents why there's a priest coming to our house at 9 o'clock at night. I told them the reason I wanted him there. It was because I was afraid to go to sleep. Because I was afraid I wasn't going to wake up, and that's why I hadn't been sleeping lately. Well, anyway, the priest came, and he said some prayers, and I told him about a vision I'd had. I was in the dark, and I saw this dim light that moved around and got further and further away, and then it turned into a bunch of children, and they were laughing and waving at me, and it sounded like they were saying, come play, come play. Actually, I wasn't sure if they were saying come play or goodbye, but it sounded more like come play. And then they just disappeared. Well, and the priest said that sometimes it's not a vision. Sometimes it's just a hallucination because I have a fever of 103 or 104. He said, when the Lord is ready, He'll be ready. And my mom brought up a really good point. She said, why are you so sure it's not going to get any worse? And that was something I had never thought about. All I ever thought about was how I can't take this pain and how I want to be out of my misery before it gets any worse, but God might not take me now. Well, anyway, the priest was really nice, and he gave me the sacrament of the sick, which I discovered I'd been getting all along at weekly mass. It's the exact same thing. And then he gave me First Holy Communion, and then he left. And I just felt so good suddenly. I started to think about the place where I was going to be buried and how I was going to lie right next to my grandmother and just lift up and fly away into the heavens, and this body is just going to be something I used while I was on earth. And I was finally able to sleep. Mama is in love with Lord Byron. It is not nonsense. I saw them together in the gazebo. Lord Byron was reading to her from his satire, and Mama was laughing with her head in her best position. She is vexed with Papa for his determination to alter the park, but that alone cannot account for her politeness to a guest. She came downstairs hours before her custom. Lord Byron was amusing at breakfast, though he paid you a tribute, Septimus. He said you were a witty fellow, and he had almost by heart an article you wrote about, well, I forget what, but it concerned a book called The Maid of Turkey, and how you would not give it to your dog for dinner. He was not like certain lazy bones. You are churlish with me because Mama is paying attention to your friend. Well, let them elope. They cannot turn back the advancement of knowledge. I think it is an excellent discovery. Each week, I plot your equations, dot for dot, x's against y's in all manner of algebraical relation, and every week they draw themselves as commonplace geometry, as if the world of forms were nothing but arcs and angles. God's truth, Septimus, if there is an equation for a curve like a bell, well, there must be an equation for one like a bluebell, and if a bluebell, why not a rose? Do we believe nature is written in numbers? We must work outward from the middle of the maze. We will start with something simple. I will plot this leaf and deduce its equation. You will be famous for being my tutor when Lord Byron is dead and forgotten. Is it Cleopatra? I hate Cleopatra. Everything is turned to love with her. New love, absent love, lost love. I never knew a heroine that makes such noodles of our sex. It only needs a Roman general to drop anchor outside the window, and away goes the empire like a christening mug into a pawn shop. If Queen Elizabeth had been a Ptolemy, history would have been quite different. We would be admiring the pyramids of Rome and the great Sphinx of Verona. But instead, the Egyptian noodle made carnal embrace with the enemy who burned the great library of Alexandria without so much as a fine for all that is overdue. Oh, Septimus, can you bear it? All the lost plays of the Athenians, 200 at least by Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, thousands of poems, Aristotle's own library brought to Egypt by the noodle's ancestors. Oh, how can we sleep for grief? What is your substance? Whereof are you made that millions of strange shadows on you tend? Since every one hath every one shade, and you but one can every shadow lend. Describe Adonis in the counterfeit is poorly imitated after you. On Helen's cheek all art of beauty set, and you in Grecian tires are painted new. Well, thank you again for taking the time to watch my video submission. Really wish I could have been there in person, but for now, this will have to do. Thanks.